Welcome to the show. I'm Chris and that's Greg. And as promised, first of all, you get to see more of this guy. You recently saw him on the day in the life of a designer and people were complaining. Greg doesn't do anything. That's a different topic for a different show.
Yeah.
But the first portfolio episode has been very popular on our channel, so let's do it again. So here we are. We're going to talk to Greg, and this is his graduating portfolio-ish. And he had to go through hard drives, and we left you with a cliffhanger last time.
Yeah.
And we finally got the thing, so we're going to look at it together, and we're going to go over it. I'll probably give him a hard time. He'll probably give himself a hard time knowing Greg, but stick around. Greg, let's just dive into it. Let's see your portfolio. Let's pretend like you had just graduated and you're showing me your portfolio for the first time. We've scraped off the digital cobwebs, right?
Yeah, I guess.
We've gone and we've traveled back in time. What year is this? When did you graduate school?
Oh man, the tough questions right away. 2006.
2006.
So,
woo!
It's about 11 years ago.
So he's been out of school for 11 years, so keep that in mind.
Okay, so I have a couple options for us to look at. I have some junior work, and then I have what I finished at the end of my senior year. So where do you want to spend
Let's do
the
it.
most
Just
time?
jump in. Let's
Jump in.
just look at the work. Yeah.
Okay. You know what? I know what we'll do. We'll start here, and then we'll save something for later. So okay. I mostly did animation. I did some design, but primarily animation.
Wait. You know what we need to do? We need to give people some context here.
Okay.
He graduated in 2006 from Otis College of Art and Design.
Yes.
In Los Angeles. It's right by LAX, a place where I taught for a little bit. When I say a little bit, several years, maybe like 10 years. And you and I met there originally,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. We met in 2004.
2004.
Yeah.
And did I meet you first or was it Reza first? I can't remember.
I have no idea.
Somebody said to somebody else to take the class.
Yeah. Well, I'd heard about the legend that is Chris through the halls of Otis.
Yeah.
And I don't think you were accepting sophomores because I was a sophomore at the time.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So what I did was just hang out by your class because it was kind of like open. There wasn't a wall like at one part.
Right. I remember that.
And whenever I didn't have a class and your class was in session, I was just hang out there and audit the class and just kind of be a little fly on the wall. And I was like, all right, this guy's smart. He gives people a hard time. I could probably learn something. So I took your class a year later.
Cool. What are we looking at? What is this? Why is it so small?
Why is it so small? Because the year was 2006 and everything was done in 4x3. So.
Oh, standard def?
Yeah. None of my work was HD because HD wasn't a thing.
It wasn't a format back then.
Instead of a standard now.
Right.
Yeah. So this was for essentially like an animation class.
Yep.
And the assignment was to pick a network and do a network ID that was animated in probably at least like 5 to 7 seconds.
Okay.
I picked National Geographic, and this is what I made.
Let's do it. Did you do the design and the animation yourself?
Yes.
It was 100% from your hands.
100% me.
Where'd you get the liquid effect from? The texture video file?
I shot all that stuff myself.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Excellent.
So I bought this giant, like, piece of, I don't know, it was like lucite or acrylic or something. I put white under it, and I bought all this ink, and I was renting this really crappy apartment at the time, and I went into my bathroom, just laid everything out, put whatever lights I had on in the bathroom to try to get a lot of contrast, and then I put black ink down with a little bit of liquid, and I started like moving it around and then taking a straw and like blowing so the liquid would like move across the paper and I get some nice movement.
Yeah.
So I probably had like 10 minutes of that stuff.
And what camera did you use to shoot that?
Some mini DV cam.
From school?
Yeah. So
Mini
I
DV.
rented all this stuff.
People on the internet scratching their head. Mini D, what?
the hell is that?
It was a tape format. It was digital, but it's still tape.
Yes.
Okay.
So you had to put it in like a little VCR and then capture it on a computer.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Good job.
Yeah.
So give us a little context for this. What are we going to see now?
So this was, I forget what class this was for. I want to say this was a 3D class that I had no interest in. So the way I'd approach school was I picked one or two classes, or one or two projects rather, for that semester that I wanted to put everything into. And the rest of my classes, I just wanted to pass, like C- pass, just barely, minimal amount of effort. This was one of those classes, and it was a 3D class. So I think I made this the night before the class ended, and it was my final. And the only rule is we had to do some sort of 3D animation. So.
Who's the teacher?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Yeah. I wish I could remember.
So you're animating to the rhythm?
Yeah, so I was listening to a lot of Daft Punk at the time.
Yeah.
And the quickest and easiest thing to animate in 3D is just hard surface things. So I thought Rubik's Cube, Daft Punk, animate to the rhythm, and then break it all apart at the end.
Hand keyframe or using a plugin to extract volume levels?
I think I hand keyed that.
Oh.
So this next one was for a kind of like design and animation class, like for all intents and purposes, let's call it motion graphics class. So in this case, we had to pick something, basically like kind of like an end tag. And we had to design it first of all, so go through a design process, and then we had to put it into motion afterward. I don't remember what this was for, but I remember designing and animating it. So
You don't even know what brand it's for?
no, I can't
Okay,
remember.
so this is so far in the past you can't remember.
Yeah,
That. Interesting. HP?
must be. I don't even know what that is. Oh, apparently it's a convention
Okay.
or something. I don't know. It looked exactly like that old HP thing, didn't it?
I don't know.
I probably ripped it off because I didn't know what else to do.
Okay.
This one is a 3D animation that I made. It wasn't for any class or anything. It was solely for my own enjoyment. And as Chris alluded to, I started a company right out of school doing mostly animation with a lot of characters. And the two friends I started it with, we all decided to make our own shorts during the holidays instead of taking a break like normal people.
I remember that.
Yeah.
You send those things out.
Yes, and then we would email it
Yeah.
to everybody we knew and teachers and stuff like that. So this was mine.
Did you ever get any job leads because of that?
Nah.
Yeah. Nice try.
Do it again. Yeah,
There you are.
and there it is.
Is that the three-legged legs monster?
Kind of. I think that's maybe where the idea came from. One of those
I think I
characters.
recognize the squiddy quality. to
Yeah.
The multi-tentacle creature.
Okay, so that's all my my senior work for the most part. That's kind of like, other than some other stuff, what I left school with. But Chris,
Yes, sir.
I did manage to find one of my assignments from your class,
Uh-oh.
junior year.
I'm scared. I'm scarred.
You know what? It's one of the better looking things. If
Great, I'm glad to hear it.
Like compared to everything
Let's
else,
look at it
for
and
what
see
it's worth.
happens. I'm like waiting
mean-
with bated breath here. I'm a little nervous.
I don't know about that, but
To be honest.
I think this was also for like a network. We had to pick a network and do a quick little like 5-second ID.
Okay. Well, hopefully you had a good teacher. Nice.
I'm like,
I remember that.
the animation's okay.
The animation's pretty good.
It doesn't make a
Rhythm,
lot of sense, but
But as a channel ID bumper, it doesn't really need to make a lot of sense,
Right.
especially for a music network. Is Fuse still around?
I don't think so.
Anybody know if Fuse is still around?
Fuse TV?
No, Fuse, not the drink. the TV network. It's like MTV, but with music.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
No,
That's
no.
pretty cool. That was fun. Had a little David Bowie in there, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Okay. The one other thing I have, which I'm pretty sure we can share, is I have the first set of boards I ever did as an intern.
Where'd you intern?
Motion theory.
I won't hold that against you. Let's do it.
Okay.
This is when you're a junior or senior?
I
remember this.
was a junior.
I was talking to you about stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's look at this. This is a storyboard sequence. What is this? What am I looking at?
You know what? I'm not entirely sure. What I remember
Super comp?
is more like a super comp.
Okay.
And I remember we were doing a pitch for X Games.
Can you punch in and move around so it's not a static shot?
Yeah, let's see.
And use the thing to pan. There you go. That's good.
Yeah.
Two finger probably.
Two finger. Yeah, there we go. I was just a lowly intern at that point, you know. So
You're pond scum.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, sure, kid, like, do something for this. So the direction wasn't like crazy clear. It was just like, hey, you know, has to say X Games, got to show off some extreme sports and look really interesting.
Did you draw that logo?
I did.
Okay. So part of the assignment was to come up with a brand refresh or something like that.
Right. So it's designed a logo.
Okay. Because you have a ton of logo experience.
Right. Yeah, totally.
Okay. Just mashing things together.
Just,
Create a look.
I don't know what the idea for this was. It was just like, here are the filters I know how to use in Photoshop. Okay.
Some more logo exploration.
This is one of my logos. One of my logo ideas right here.
Okay. How do you feel about it looking back now?
It's terrible.
Why is it terrible?
I can barely read it, first of all.
Okay, legibility.
The typeface feels very antiquated and gothic, and to me that totally contrasts with what X Games is. It just like doesn't seem on brand in any way, shape, or form.
Well, it's a little punk. You could use letter gothic or black letter.
I mean, the
create
texture,
that feeling,
the texture's all right. I feel like maybe that could work.
Yeah.
And also just like what I'm doing with the type doesn't make a lot of sense either. There's a lot going on here.
So if an intern did this work for you today, what would you say to that person today?
Trash.
No, you wouldn't do that. You're a nice guy. Come on.
I wouldn't say that. I would say, okay, let's take a step back. Let's look at this piece by piece. You know, what do we need to communicate here? We need to be able to read the words X Games, right? So there's a legibility issue, and on like in terms of typeface and font choice, like why this? Can you explain the thinking behind it, and like how does that connect to what X Games is about and their overall kind of brand and everything?
So you might say it feels off-brand to you?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay, cool.
By a little bit, I mean completely.
All right. What else you got?
Okay, so this was another super comp, and I wanted to do something. I remember, like, what if you couldn't see the bodies of any of these athletes? It was like just their limbs.
Like they're wearing black T-shirts and black
yeah
pants, and you would crush it and just only their fleshy parts.
Right. So it was like this weird abstraction.
It's got good movement in it.
Yeah.
It's a little crazy.
A little nonsensical again, but
yeah.
At least I had some sort of thinking and concept behind it. It wasn't just a mishmash of stuff, you know.
Somebody's shoe there. That's cool. I like that footprint in the face.
Yeah, there's like some scale.
Did they present any of this work?
I don't think so. No.
Did your art director say anything to you about the work? Give you any kind of direction or guidance?
You want to know who my art director was?
I know who your art director was.
I remember him giving me really, really good guidance, actually. I don't remember what any of it was, but I remember walking away from his desk being like, you know, my brain fell out of my head and like, okay.
Great.
You know, job was over, of course, but, you know, now I knew what he taught me moving forward.
Did the company win the pitch?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is all X Games stuff still, right?
Yeah. Actually, you know what? I think this was after I talked to my art director.
And then you worked on it some more?
Yeah, and to his wisdom, I probably simplified, started paring things down, using a lot more negative space.
Mm-hmm.
So
I see that.
Yeah.
There's the guy on the dirt bike coming in from the bottom.
Yeah, like the wheels kind of.
I can see now. Reverse engineering, it looks like he took the best pieces from what you were trying to do and helping you to synthesize that into a style, an aesthetic, a design that is legible, first of all, because some of it was illegible,
right.
and helping you to reconcile some of the compositional issues,
Yeah.
right? So he took the high contrast thing, he took the what if you couldn't see parts thing and cut it out as a negative shape versus just showing the other way,
Right.
which is just to show their arms, their face, and their knees or whatever you're showing. And I can't remember the first design thing, but probably stripping away all that hand brush texture thing and just saying maybe that doesn't have a place in here.
Right.
Introducing the halftone pattern, I think that's kind of nice. And I think what he's been able to do with your design sensibility here is to create a multi-layered comp without making it overwhelming to look at. You have your primary read, which is this guy who's doing the Superman, I think, or something like that,
Right, yeah.
on his dirt bike. And then you have this thing that's in the foreground that if you're not really paying attention, you don't know what it is, and that's okay. Then you have all these other crazy elements in the background, but you've done a duotone thing with a halftone pattern in it. It looks good, so it's really screened back. Getting your 3 reads in there.
Right.
I
Yeah.
don't really understand these parts over here. They don't feel integrated.
Looks a little unfinished.
Yeah. But it's cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Progress, at least, like, you know.
You see the change. So
Yes.
with some art direction, with some focus, you're able to pull out the best parts and put it into something. What is this thing?
Okay, so I
a
remember.
little scary.
I remember this now. Yeah, this was just a weird idea I had, and it was about taking these athletes and showing
punch
them
it. Let's punch
as
it in paint.
an X-ray here,
Uh-huh.
but instead of bones, their bones are made up of like parts of skateboards and bicycles and all these like different equipment that they use. And there'd be like lightning and weird stuff like that. It was a super wild card thing. I thought it was really weird, and I was like, oh, this is, at least I'm having fun, but I don't think this is what they want at all.
Right.
But I remember the creative director coming by and being like, it's kind of weird, but it's interesting, I like it. And he was like, do a sequence, because I think I did this one here.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, man, I'll try this out.
It's so weird looking.
It's super weird and pretty ugly for the most part. There might be a nice way to do this, like it's a little more refined, but
Yeah.
it's pretty strange. This is the only one I think is halfway decent, just because there's not so much of that going on in there.
Yeah. Looking back now, if I saw this, just speaking on it purely from a compositional design point of view, I think you have to make sure like I can tell what it is that I'm looking at.
Yes.
So that's about clarity, and we're, as designers, we're fighting confusion and controlling how bright your background is, how big elements are in the frame really help me to read it. Since you're taking an X-ray concept and you're further abstracting it and throwing it into this very busy background, it makes it really hard to read.
Yeah.
I think the way you make it work is you just simplify. So
Yeah.
here's a trick for you guys, and we talked about this perhaps in a different episode. When you're working on a file like this, the tendency for a younger designer, a person who's straight out of school or still in school, is to layer in things, and you keep layering things, and gradients and overlays and palm trees and lightning bolts and gears, parts of skateboards and all that kind of stuff. You just layer and layer until it becomes so dense. And I think that comes from a place of inexperience and insecurity that I don't know what else to do, so I'm just going to keep putting more and more stuff on it.
Exactly.
Right? So if we're talking about a plate of food, it's like you've put every ingredient, every spice,
All of
and
it.
4 kinds of
Dump it.
protein, and it's just this mess.
Yeah.
It's a mess. So what I would say is go back in, turn off all your layers, and then turn one layer on at a time.
Yeah.
As soon as it feels too complicated or you get that weird feeling like it's not resolved, somewhere you broke it in one of those 2 layers. So turn that layer off and then keep working on it.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that it won't work, it just means you have to change one of those 2 things. Change the scale, change the contrast, change the color, the texture, change the opacity, change something so that it works. And realize that if you have a really strong idea, you don't need to put all the sauce on it.
Yep.
We go to the best restaurants, right? We do, and we eat, and we say, wow, that one piece of salmon or that one salad with these 3 ingredients were done to perfection.
Yeah.
And it starts with having high quality ingredients, in this case, a concept, preparing it simply and letting the flavors come through or letting the concept come through.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks for
A
sharing
little bit of
this.
seasoning.
A little bit,
Not much.
just a little bit.
Yeah. This was fun digging through all this stuff. And it's hilarious to look back on it.
Well, I'm glad you made the extra effort to take apart your hard drive to find some kind of adapter, and we're able to get this and able to look at it. And the reason why we're doing these kinds of videos, guys, is because it's often very difficult to look at where somebody is today. Greg's worked on some beautiful campaigns with some of the biggest artists and the biggest brands. And it feels like he's miles away from where you're at today. So the whole point of doing this My First Portfolio series is to show people you don't come out of the womb great. You don't come out knowing who you are, what you want to say in the world. And I just want to humble everybody a little bit to say this is where we started. And for you guys to say, you know what? If you want to get to where he's at, you have to take that first step. And there's many steps in between where you're at today versus where you started. And that's really it. That's the whole point of this series. Guys, I'm going to wrap it up. Thanks for tuning in. And thanks, Greg, for being on the show for the third time, I think. This is your third appearance. Third time's a charm. And this is the most I think we've ever seen you speak, and except for your other video where it's just you. And I'm hoping that you'll come on the show more because I think your voice is needed on the show. So you guys, if you like this episode, please give us a thumbs up. Give us a comment. You know, for the 48 hours after videos are released, we're on top of your comments. We're going to respond. We're going to answer questions. After the 48-hour window, we're less responsive. So this is a reward for you. If you want to really engage with us, 2 days after this thing airs, you need to be on the comments, okay? And subscribe to our channel if you want to see more of this kind of content. Let us know what you think. Hey, on behalf of Greg and myself, thanks for watching the channel. See you guys next time.